we are very grateful. We do not suggest that we went soft at all in closing this event. Yeah. Seated in front of us today, we have key leadership from several of the organizations and respectively of the major systems that we have been in discussion about over the last 2 days. And to their credit, they were actually willing to show up. But we, yes, please, acknowledge that, because they could easily have each sent a designee to be part of this. So the fact that they are here speaks volumes about how important you are to them. So we acknowledge that. At this time, I'm going to invite two of our Keao Malama Lama members, Waialeale Sarsona and Kamoa'e Wak, who will share with you about today's closing panel, Our Leadership.
Aloha kako. We're so honored to be the moderators for this panel. And one mana'o I wanted to leave with you today is that leadership is about practicing in actions. Right? So we are looking for ways in which our leadership can give us and lead us by example. So this panel is about that. And through all of our discussion for the past 2 days, so now what? And how do we take action moving forward? So we're looking forward to hearing their mana'o and the ways in which their leadership is promoting and supporting our Native Hawaiian learners.
Ai, aloha hou. Grateful to be a part of this final panel, a very prestigious panel. I just wanted to note that we have a long history in our mo'olelo. Last year's conference theme was mo'olelo. And in most of the mo'olelo, we get examples of either ali'i maikai or ali'i maikai ole. And so through those examples, they give us ways that we can emulate past leaders of Hawaii. We have many examples of those, and there are some that were not good leaders. And those come out through our mo'olelo and live through us as we go through those mo'olelo. So I just wanted to note that. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panelists this afternoon. First of all, immediately to my right here is Jack Wong, who we heard earlier in the conference in the beginning, who is the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer for Kamehameha Schools throughout the islands. How about a hand for Jack? Sitting on the couch to the far right, Catherine Maraoshi, who is the Superintendent for the Department of Education for the state of Hawaii. How about a hand for Catherine? To the far right, in the middle of the couch, excuse me, Dr. Kawanoi Kamana. Yep. Who is the board president for the Ahapunana Leo, amongst the many things that she does. And we're happy to have her with us. Also to her left is Catherine Payne, who is with the Hawaii Public Charter School Commission. And seated to the right, next to Dr. Crabb, is Dr. David Lasner, UH Hawaii System President. Awesome. And certainly not least, to the far right, Dr. Kamana'o Crabb, the Pohana of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. This is our panel this afternoon. Mahalo.
Each panelist will have 3 minutes to answer 2 questions that we have provided to them. And so Ku'u is going to raise her hand right now, and if you can see her panelist, she will be giving you your time limits as you've requested, so mahalo. She will be there waving you down. So we're going to give each panelist the opportunity to answer the question before moving on to the next question. At the end, we've trying to reserve 15 minutes for Q&A. So at the same time as we've done in the past, there are several people in the audience that are helping us to collect questions that we will be able to ask to our panelists. So the first question, and we'll start off with Jack here and make our way down. The first question is, share examples of how your institution has advanced the goals of Olelo Hawaii and Ike Hawaii.
Aloha, everybody. Kamana and I decided to wear the same shirt today. He picked the wrong color. Actually, one of the things, I'm only allowed to wear blue and white, so I didn't wear my right colors today. What are the examples? We have a lot of examples, I hope, in our organization through this last year. But one of the examples I want to talk about is, at the beginning of the year, after the last conference, we had gone through a question of normalization of Olelo. And so as we had some discussions in our organization, somebody asked me a question. And I don't want to pick on the accounting department, but it was kind of an accounting department. Because I said, it's really important that everybody in our organization, if we're going to be a great Native Hawaiian organization, everybody should be able to Olelo. And the response was, what does an accountant sitting in our accounting department, why is that important that they can speak Hawaiian? Why is that important? And so if you know how Kamehameha works is, I had a good answer, I think, and my answer was, how do you expect to do Princess Pauahi's work if you don't understand the language in which she lived? But if you know how Kamehameha Schools works, that was kind of good, but it really wasn't enough. So we needed data and proof. And so thanks to our Ho'akuhua department, we ran a survey of about 1,200 of our employees. And so we ran a survey that said, we asked a couple questions. One of the questions was, do you think it's important to do your work, to understand the mission? Do you think it's important to have Olelo and an understanding of Hawaiian language? 93% of our employees said, yes, that's important. And so I think that's incredible. The second part of the questions was, what percentage of our workforce believe that they are confident in Olelo, confident in Hawaiian language? And 1 minute already? 87% felt they were not confident or less than confident in Olelo Hawaii. And so one of the things we are doing as an organization with all 2,200 of our employees is saying it is important for us to be a Native Hawaiian organization that we know how to speak our language. And so we do have a program we are starting to make sure all 2,200 of our employees over the next 5 years reaches a certain level of proficiency. And that's important for us. That's a big commitment. And it's not easy, but we're going to see this one through. Aloha.
It's really an honor to be here with you today. I am representing the State Public Charter School Commission, and more than half of our schools are either immersion or culturally focused in the Hawaiian traditions. I think that we are growing as we move forward in doing a better job of supporting the goals that you have identified. Certainly, the schools individually are accomplishing tremendous growth. I believe what we need to do more of as a commission and within the context of the Department of Education that we operate in, we need to do a lot more. I did want to mention a couple of things that are happening in the schools specifically that when we think about best practices should be carried forth much further than just the Hawaiian-focused charter schools. We have schools that are in wonderful partnerships with universities and are doing very, very creative learning experiences for children. One of the missions of all of our schools is to be a laboratory for work that can be transmitted into the larger culture of education in Hawaii. We need to do a much better job of this because within our charter schools there are amazing things happening. Specifically with regard to assessments, and this is a big controversy throughout all public schools in our nation, and it's coming to a head very soon, I think. But within our charter schools, this has been a big discussion, and particularly with the schools that are teaching in the immersion programs, because it made no sense at all to test children who were learning in Hawaiian with English tests. And so that is beginning to change, and we have been working with the Department of Education and the Board of Education and the University of Hawaii to effect a change which will be in place this school year, where we are pilot testing Hawaiian language tests in our immersion schools. And one of the things we have done with respect to these schools is modified their renewal process so that they will have a longer time to assess the children with these tests before they have to renew their applications for continuing their charters. So that is probably the biggest thing we're doing, and there's much more work to be done, but I am encouraged by your support in all of this. Thank you.
Aloha pumehana kako. E ola ka olelo Hawaii. E ola ka olelo Hawaii. E ola ka olelo Hawaii. That's about it. That's about it. So I represent, I'm here with these people, representing just coming up with a thought. Our language is dying. Let's do something about it. Back in 1982, with a small group of people. We didn't have degrees in preschool education. We didn't really know what that was all about, details. We knew that our language was dying and somebody had to do something different other than what was happening in our universities for a long, long time, trying to do it that way. It wasn't happening. So we decided, yeah, let's do it. Action, you gotta take action. And we couldn't even speak Hawaiian that well. That's okay. You know, try, begin, work on something, study hard, be patient with each other, and learn as we do it, and get the best people working with you. Learn from them, listen to them. Our old people were they're all gone already. At that time, they were so supportive, positive. Them, ikaika, lako, all the old folks then. And we listen. That's another thing. You gotta listen. And when you hear, you gotta follow. Yeah, don't just sit down and not get something out of these people. And luckily we have a wealth of knowledge on paper and on tape. But what I wanna say is that grassroots, now the Punana Leo is a grassroots movement. It's a grassroots spirit. It remains a grassroots spirit until today. And I sit here representing families from every island who came together and worked humbly and worked hard to make sure that we brought something forward for generations to come. E ola ka olelo Hawaii is the makia, not the makia it is the makia, it is the nuukia, the mission of the Punana Leo. No ane I ko kako ola. We are from this place. That is the mission of Nawahi o Kalani o Pu'u. O ka olelo ke ka'a o ka Maoli, the language is the binding cord of our Maoli, our identity, our pumehana, the way that we are. All of these three missions inspire us to do better every day, all the time, with each other. We cannot do it alone. And we belong to individual families, but it is our collective effort of using Hawaiian every day and believing that this is something that belongs, is an integral part of our identity. The life of our language is the life of our people. Believe it, persevere, and do not give up. Mahalo.
So I think our story probably started so many years ago, yeah. but it really was two board members at the Board of Education, and Cheryl Lupinui Kauhani is here, and Don Horner. And they took it upon themselves to really revisit the Board of Education policies. It sounds really geeky to say that, but you know, without that policy, the actions, we were always worried that they would be reversed, that the policy direction was not set and not firm. And they spent many hours meeting with people and talking about the history and the values and where are we going and what is the vision, and putting together a policy upon which the department could really move forward and act in a long-term way. Not short-term, not pilot project, long-term. And so with that policy behind us, or beneath us, supporting us, we have now reorganized the department. Okay, and believe me, it takes a long time to do that. To form an Office of Hawaiian Education that reports directly to the superintendent. It's not buried within the Office of Curriculum Instruction and Support. We have a new executive director, Kawi-san. It's the beginning, you see. It's the beginning of a governance structure that allows for system-wide valuing of Hawaiian language and Hawaiian education, system-wide. And so it's geeky, but it's really important. And then with that, we're engaging in a process of strategic planning, looking out to our community, saying, okay, now we have this office. It's a start. It's only a start. Where are we going strategically to move this forward statewide? In the immersion schools for more support, but also in all our schools, every student, 185,000 students in the state, can benefit, should know and understand so much more about where we live and the traditions and the cultures of this place. And I have 1 minute left. Okay. So I'm gonna tell you a very, very short story, which I know I've shared with David Lasner and some others when we were on a trip, about why I feel this culture-based education is so important. So in the schools, we teach English, language arts, and math, and those are like the core, the trunk of a tree. Right? They are the solid base of the tree. And of course, all the arts and the social studies and all of these other subjects are like the leaves and the flowers, and it's so beautiful. But you know, the culture and where a student, who they are, those are the roots. Those are the roots. And if you want to have children who are resilient, who can manage any challenge that life sends their way, they need to have strong roots, or the first storm that comes will push them over. And so to me, when I look at our children and I think about how they need to be resilient to meet all of the challenge that they will face in their life, then we need to look at this piece and have them truly understand who they are and have their community there to support them. And that's fundamentally why I believe this is the way our children, all our children, will learn and understand very deeply who they are and what the opportunities are for them to aspire to and to succeed.
I know that when Jack gives an order, every employee jumps across the entire Kamehameha, and even more so for Kathy, that every teacher, principal, and administrator, but it's kind of not like that at the university. So we're a system of 10 campuses, and every campus is a little bit different. So as the head of the system, my goal and technique is to try and promote change through the campuses with a mix of top-down and bottom-up. So in this area of Olelo, Hawaii and Ike, Hawaii, we have a set of strategic directions that our board adopted in January. And so I'll just read one of them. It's short and pithy, but to advance the utilization and understanding of the Hawaiian language and culture throughout the UH system, including through articulated programs of study, as well as through informal learning. So there's a lot of code packed in there, but I'll just highlight a few words. Part of this, and I have asked our leadership and faculty of our campuses to begin to work together to articulate our programs of study so that as students move around throughout the UH system, they have opportunities to take what they have learned without having to repeat it. And you all know much more about this than I do, but there are different ways of teaching, there are different emphases, and the more we can do this, our faculty can do this together, the better we will serve our students. And through our partnership with Kamehameha Schools that I was sure Jack was going to mention, but he got so caught up in that other story that he blew his time. But we're really interested in also making sure that as students come into us from Kamehameha, into any of our 10 campuses, that the academic work they have done in Olelo and in Ike, Hawaii, prepares them ideally not to retake the same courses that an entry-level student might take who comes to the University of Hawaii with no background, whether from a DOE school or from somewhere on the mainland or another country. Wow, 30 seconds. So quickly, I want to acknowledge the work at Kahakaula. Thank you. And I know Keiki is wandering around here somewhere. They are challenging me and others to understand what it means for students who leave one of our immersion schools and then come to our university's campuses. Why do they have to start learning everything in English? And so how will we move that agenda forward? It's a big one as a system, not just at UH Hilo, sorry, but I'm interested in motivating this action across the state. I'll stop there, thanks.
Vilina ke aloha, yakakua pau aloha. When I first became Pohana, I introduced a new framework in OHA. It's called Kukuluho. It is to rebuild, to reestablish, and to reconnect ourselves as in a state agency and move towards a Hawaiian institution. And what that really means is looking to the ancestral and cultural heritage of our kupuna and actually embracing that as part of our hana at Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Why is that important? I believe you really cannot influence others if you're not doing it yourself. And so it begins in the house and in OHA. That was an extreme challenge, and not from non-Kanaka, it came from our own people of reconnecting. What does it mean to have cultural self-identity? What kind of Hawaiian you going to have? And as Kawanoi said, sometimes you just gotta hana it and do it. And then people will slowly adapt. I didn't take a survey like Jack and have 93%. I think sometimes as a leader of an organization, and when you have these change management kind of issues, a big movement of incorporating like Olelo Hawaii and Ike Hawaii, sometimes you have to hana it, you have to have the vision, implement it, and then have people who can actually execute it. And I'm very fortunate to have people within OHA that we have. One example is that the first bill actually authored in Olelo Hawaii is February, which is Hawaiian Language Month. Now that may not be much to you, but it was a statement to the state that to re-establish or invigorate the acknowledgement in high levels of government that Olelo Hawaii is one of 2 official languages in the state of Hawaii. Now, if you think further, what probably we really want to do at OHA is really continue that and preserve that in the future. I really believe self-determination and governance is a big part of that. But for now, in this era, we have to, work within the systems and organizations that we do now. And our greatest strength at OHA is public policy, enacting policy and legislation to do that is one of our major kuleana that we strive for. There are many other stories. We chant, we olelo. I told the people we moved in our new building at night at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, if you hear drums and stomping and kukui helepo people, don't worry, it's just us. Okay, it's mea ba'amau. And it's to the point now, our people, they come, we greet them, olelo Hawaii, all of our tenants come out and they just think it's fabulous. Being on social media and news and everything is so exciting in our building. What I do want to say is with any change and affirmation of this, it really takes leadership, and we're very fortunate now that you have these type of leaders at the table that can help kako'o the work of Ke'au Malamalama. Mahalo.
Mahalo to each of our panelists. Having looked back now from last year at the accomplishments within your organizations and institutions and had a chance to reflect on those, we could see that there has been movement, and we appreciate that, and we're grateful for all of your leadership in that. Now we're going to ask the second question. How do you envision your organization or institution contributing to the shared vision and goals in the next 2 years? And that would include our continuing vision and goals from last year, Olelo Hawaii and Ike Hawaii, and those that we have been through in yesterday and up until this point. So we'll go ahead and go through the same order again. Yeah, around 3 minutes. If it's really interesting, just put it.
All right, I will try to be interesting. So, as we look forward, I would love to say we know exactly what we want to do. But one thing I'm learning from summits like today is we don't have all the answers today. And when I look at a movement and I look at how we progress, I can see us progressing. But I also know that we need innovation. And with innovation, we truly will have the disruptive kind of change we're looking for. So, as I look out and I think about what are we doing as an organization, one thing we're trying to do as an organization is to see and make room for innovation. Because with a lot of our organizations, you don't have room for it because you got a budget, you have things that you're doing. So we're carving out specific unallocated budget to say we know innovation's going to happen. We know there's going to be great ideas. We know there's different direction. So as we look forward, let's be ready for opportunities. Let's be ready for innovation. And let's be ready to test. And for us, it's what you guys all know, which is sometimes you have to take chances. Sometimes you have to fail fast, come back and bounce back. But I think it's that resiliency that we're looking for in our organization going forward. So people are going to say, what are all the great ideas? And we know we have a lot of great ideas. But we also know that if we're truly going to make a difference, if we're going to really be innovative, we have to carve space for it. And so I want to make sure we as an organization, we as a community have room for that. And what I've heard earlier from today was we have a lot of great ideas. How do we take those, test them, give them a chance, and let them either fail or work, and then embed them into what we're doing? And so we as an organization are committed to making sure we have room for innovation, room for opportunity. We have a lot of great ideas, but how do we keep those possibilities open as well? So that's one thing I think we're doing. The second thing is we want to be a great partner. And a great partner means sitting alongside here and saying, we have to do our part at Kamehameha Schools. But we're also not afraid to say, we expect you to do your part as well and hold each other accountable, because we have too much at risk for us to not hold each other accountable to those shared outcomes. So if we really are going to have shared outcomes, we have to not be afraid to look at each other and say, I'm going to hold you accountable because our Native Hawaiian learners are depending on it. So that's an approach I think we expect people to hold us accountable, and we also expect that you will understand why we want to hold each of you accountable, whether it's as a system, as community partners, or as communities. Aloha.
going forward, I think we have to have some continuing difficult conversations about how we assess learners in our charter schools and beyond charter schools. There's a lot of research that lets us know that just testing children on paper and pencil tests is not the best way to determine whether they're learning. Some of our charters have come up with some very innovative ideas about how to do this. Fitting that into the system that we operate in is the challenge that we have going forward. I hope that we can continue having conversations about this, because I think that when we talk about what's best for children and how we measure whether children are learning and growing into the kind of citizens we want them to be, we have to make sure that how we evaluate them is aligned with our belief systems. And right now we're struggling with that. We're moving forward by at least having tests that are coming forward in the language that they are taught in. But we need to move beyond that, and we need to have assessments that measure the other things that are important. And you listed a number of them that you have come up with over the last couple of days that align a bit with what the Department of Education has called their general learner outcomes. We have a very hard time measuring that, but we say these are what we believe. So how do we move forward with that? And there are many, many people who are doing some creative things that we need to learn from. Another important thing that we have to do moving forward, and all of the partners who are in this room will have to help with that, is helping the broader community to understand that the kinds of educational experiences children are getting in immersion schools are equally valuable as the kinds of educational experiences students are getting in traditional, and maybe even more valuable. There's plenty of research available that proves this, but it's very hard to get people to believe that in some of the policy-making decision makers' chairs that they're sitting. So all of the partnerships that we have are going to need to help carry this message forward. And it's just heartening to me to see the changes that have already been accomplished, but we cannot rest, because what's best for children is to continue to move this forward. And it's not only good for children in immersion schools. Helping children to be assessed on how they're learning, no matter what school they're in, must change, because we need to really look at how we're measuring what children are learning, and we have much work to do on that, but I'm encouraged.
For us in Hawaiian medium education, whether it's with preschool children, elementary, intermediate, high school, university, MA, PhD, after that, family, mommy, daddy, children, cousins, everybody, the ohana, everything. We have the mana and the authority to make this live. We have it right now. We don't have to ask anybody, you think we have the mana to make it? That's not the question. The question is, how do we work together to realize our inherent mana that we have? And that takes some courage, I think, because we came, so the whole purpose of education, utilizing education, is to grow babies and into thriving adults who understand a world as being Hawaiian, and that the whole thing belongs to us. And that it is through that worldview that we connect with every single other lahui on this planet. So that we feel comfortable meeting everyone, anytime, any place, because we are born as Hawaiian to understand ourselves and others in that way. Sometimes we don't understand when to tolerate, when not to tolerate, when to ho'omanawa nui, when not to ho'omanawa nui, when to olelo and when to shut your mouth, when to take the scoldings and don't grumble and understand that that is aloha for you. These things all come from the Ohana. These things are in our Ohana right now, but nobody's paying attention to that. This is the way we need to talk with each other, together. We all have part of the answer. Don't compete with each other. Work with each other. So in the institution, we have the institutions. We are pomaikai, to have supportive people in the institution. Don't rip them down. Help them out. Puting is putting to be in this kind of situation like them. Me, maikai loa, I'm just a li'i. But poor thing. So when we talk to you folks, please ho'olohe mai and try and speak to them and your other underling people so that we can be touched with aloha and work together. Don't give up. Stop. Okay, mahalo.
Oh, thank you. I just have to say mahalo. That's all I can say. I did want to touch on one thing. I think the assessment issue is a very big one. And I don't think, it was several years ago, I was at a meeting, and someone here challenged me whether we would be willing to go to the federal government and ask for a waiver of the requirements for assessing students in Hawaii. And I said, yeah, but I'm not so sure how it's going to go because, they never gave a waiver to anyone before, remember? But why not? And I thought about it all this time, and if we finally had an opportunity to send that letter, we got support from OHA, we got support letters from others, and we went to the feds and we asked them to waive that English language requirement for 3rd and 4th grade English language, arts, and math. And we put some money into it, which was a good thing too, showed that we meant it. We weren't just saying it, we meant it. And we are the only state that has ever gotten a waiver like that. We are setting a stage. We're pushing it. And that waiver, so I was so happy that day. And I have to thank the people who worked on that assessment because this time frame was incredible. And to even be able to, we know we got issues. There's always room for improvement, there's always problems, but that it got done is due to the hard work and commitment of a lot of people. Remember that waiver is not permanent. So one thing that we all need to join hands and work on together is first we improve the assessment. But also we need to continue to have that recognized because that is a requirement on the department for us to receive our federal dollars. Okay, so it's not just we want to do this big test, yeah, because it's hard on all of our schools. But it is a requirement. And so how can we make sure that this opportunity that we have, that door doesn't close? Because remember, as we forge forward, sometimes that door can close again, yeah? It's not always open, so let's always be aware of that. And I think I want to just reiterate again that this is a community effort, it's a partnership effort. One of the things we're facing is a capacity issue around teachers. We don't have enough teachers in Hawaiian language. We don't have them. There's a huge need, and we're not going to solve that only through the college. At the university, we're going to have to reach out, we're going to have to be creative, we're going to have to be innovative, and we're going to have to do that together, and we're not always going to agree. But I think if we have a common goal, and we all know that we're in it for the right reason, then let's argue full on with each other, knowing that at the end of it, we'll be all working towards doing the right thing for our kids. And so that's very important to me. So, thank you.
First, thank you. I don't get sympathy all that often. I do appreciate it. I'll just mention a couple of things that I'm excited about. One is we had a group, I guess about 3 or 4 years ago called Hawaii Papaokeao, and a number of people here from UH were involved in developing a strategy for what it means for UH to be a Hawaiian serving institution. And that That group did its work, issued a report. You can Google it. There's been great work going on all of our 10 campuses now. And so when I met with the chancellors, which I do from time to time, of the 10 campuses, we agreed that we would reconvene a group to look at how we're doing at what we said 4 or 5 years ago. In particular, take a look at what has gone on our 10 campuses. Some are ahead of others, as is always the case on some of the actions. There's a lot that our campuses can learn from each other. So melding together the campus-based action with support and leadership, again, in that top-down, bottom-up kind of approach that we need to use a lot of times at UH. Second thing I want to mention is partnerships. So the UH and DOE have been working together probably for about 10 years through the P20 Partnerships for Education. We have actually the best P20 program, I believe, in the country that has survived multiple superintendents, only 2, probably 3 or 4 presidents, a couple governors, 3 governors now. But this thing is really thriving. And when I came into this job as interim, and by the way, there was an interim CEO of Kamehameha, and I thought, you know, we share so much in common that we're aspiring to do together. And we have a number of great activities, as we do with OHA, but they tend to be project-based and individually based. And I got really interested in, can we build a partnership at the institutional level, not to stifle innovation, but to support and institutionalize it when it proves to be successful. So for Jack and I have both been de-interimed along the way, but that partnership is also really thriving. We actually met here to kick it off about a year ago, and we're getting ready for our second summit now, looking at areas that are really important to both of us, like Native Hawaiian student success. How do we, not just Kamehameha students, but Native Hawaiian student success, wherever they come from, including the charter schools, the public schools, into UH in particular. We're looking at Ike Hawaii and Olelo Hawaii. How can we work together? And I mentioned some of that earlier. We're looking at sustainability and areas like living learning labs, where we engage students. And Kathy talked a little bit about culture-based and place-based learning. Nani's working on this too. And you know, dirty secret, Kamehameha has a lot of land, UH has a lot of campuses and land, and how can we do better together by thinking institutionally about leveraging our land for mission and to financially support the important work that we both do.
There are 3 things I would like to accomplish in the next 2 years. OHA has developed and put a lot of time, money, and effort into different cultural plans, but we've never adopted it as a policy. And so as part of that policy, Olelo Hawaii and Ike Hawaii will be part of that policy. We started 2 years ago. We need to go through some refinement. But in the 2 years, that will be one of my goals. It's very important, not only as an organization, but it will help to also shape in the next 2 years our next strategic plan. Ours originally went from 2010 to 2016. We extended it. We finished up in 2018. So we need to start preparing now for the next strategic plan. That's the second. So that's very important. I think it's important, like gatherings like this, that will be very different from the planning process we went through in 2007, 8, 9 to develop our current strategic plan. I think, I believe and hope that the process we come out will be more focused on the kako, the collective effort of our communities and of our institutions. Jack and David had talked about innovation being a very primary component of what we look to innovate, create, thrive as organizations to help support the community. But what I feel is increasing and could improve on is the greater collaboration amongst institutions and systems with a foundation of supporting Mo'omeheo Hawaii that has not been done. It's expanding from DOE to Hawaiian organizations to the university system, and now how do we go broader? Lastly is international diplomacy policy or engagement. The reason why that's important for the next years or so forth as we work towards self-determination and governance, it's very important that we develop leaders to take on that kuleana. And I will say it now, is that we have to. Okay, we have to start training and succession plans to develop the new leaders. Part of my hope is that we will reconnect with our cousins of the South Pacific and Polynesia, as well as in the Pacific Rim, in order to help broaden not just Hawaii, but a broader Moana Pacific base of governance and interconnection. Lastly, it's not just in education we need to collaborate. We need to collaborate with education and health and economic and business and land management. We have to work towards a more global collective effort, a more multidisciplinary, cross-sectional type of collaboration that's very, very important into the work we do as a whole, as a Lahui. Mahalo.
Mahalo e nā alakai no ko manao nui manao koʻikoʻi. At this time, I have a couple questions that were provided for you. So this first question is for our CEO, Jack. And the question is, once 93 to 100% of Kumu acquire the Hawaiian language, how will it be utilized in the KS school system? Is it the goal to be like a Kaiapuni?
That's a good question. I think one good thing is we move in increments, and so I can answer the question incrementally. So we know kind of the first level we want to get to. I think it's on the table as we talk about what happens next, because it's not just about being a Native Hawaiian organization. It's about being a Native Hawaiian education organization. So it's also about what happens next with our learners as well as our organization. And so I'm going to say we're going to focus first. Let's get to this first notch. And then let's be talking about what does that next notch look like as we talk about a broader system.
Okay, mahalo. I do have a softball directly for you. As an organization, this is for KSDOE-AUH. As an organization, how do you, meaning the organization, address or teach about issues like Hawaiian kingdom sovereignty and Mauna Kea?
So this morning I was on the Hawaii News Now morning show, and they also gave me Cancer Center, athletics, and my contract or non-contract renewal, non-renewal. So on Mauna Kea, I don't think I can say much that everybody here doesn't already know. I'll tell you what I'm most proud of, I think, which is, clearly this is an incredibly difficult conversation and situation for everybody in the university and almost everybody in the state. There are people of goodwill on both sides of issues, and Kamana'o and I have both spent time meeting with people on multiple sides of it, and I think when we talk together, there's an incredible amount of mutual respect. I have to tell you, when I have met Lanakila and Kaho'okahi, I think if, we obviously are not in the same place on an issue, but these are amazing young men. And when I think about, we were joking before this, but this is something that the university has helped create. And it's painful, right now, but I'm really actually quite proud of that. And I hope in the years to come, we find other issues where we're on the same side and we can work together. And I think that's approaching difficult situations with aloha is really important. I am also really proud of the work on our campuses to maintain respect and to take learning opportunity. I'm seeing Gail sitting over here who has done amazing things at UH Hilo to really help the entire campus community think about other people and what we have to learn together about difficult situations. I don't know, how everything will end, but I do know we all have to live together after it ends one way or another, and I'm really feel very good that we're doing our part within the university to try and contribute to that. I'll give somebody else sovereignty.
So addressing it a little bit of a different way, one of the reasons for the Office of Hawaiian Education is because I think students who are not in immersion schools or not in culture-based, culture-focused schools, they're not gaining the knowledge, the experience, the benefit of truly understanding this place and the culture and the traditions. And we need to revitalize the classrooms for the other 180,000 students who live here. They really need to learn and understand what's happening in a way that's relevant for them and engaging. And you see it when they have a program like that. It's invigorating for them. It brings to life so many lessons. And so I think that's one of our challenges, is not to see this only as something for Native Hawaiian people, but to see it for all students. And also going back to the point about valuing education, valuing the education in the Hawaiian language. That is going to be one of our challenges overall for the whole community to understand that this is not a second-class thing. This is a first-class thing. And I think, just calling it out, that's what a lot of people think. And I think unless we reach the broader community, all of the people out there, and have the children coming home excited to tell their parents about what they learned in school, until we have that, I think we're going to struggle. And I think that's just one of those really important underpinnings for all of us.
In our 25-year vision into the future, we do see learners who not only are strong in their cultural identity, but are civically engaged. So as we are uncomfortable with civil engagement, we have to look in the future and see that civic engagement is what we're asking for our learners. And if we want to find self-determination, education is a foundation. And so we see our role in education is understanding cultural identity, but also understanding what it is to be civically engaged. And that's the process that we're in. And so I agree with Dave. If we feel uncomfortable about it, this is exactly what we're asking in our programs and our vision as we look forward, is how do we engage? And sometimes it's hard, but we don't move forward unless we engage first. We can't engage unless we educate. So our role is to make sure we educate and do our role.
Mahalo. The next question is actually for each of you. Hopefully we have time. It says, what are each of you doing to ensure Native Hawaiian successors in your position? So your position specifically, how are you as leaders preparing successors, Native Hawaiian successors?
I believe not just as a practitioner, but when you get to this level, you come to a point where you have to begin looking at the future and who are potential people you would like to take your place. Saying that there are very few candidates, the job I have is not very easy. For a lot of us, unless you like writing letters, you know. It takes a lot of courage in my position, and I really believe what Kawanoi shared is you have to have a good sense of mana or identity about yourself to withstand the challenges you have. So right now, I believe with the ka'aha or the executive team I have is doing the best in terms as a unified collective group. They may not reach the level that I am at, but hopefully they will ascend higher from where they are. And that's very important. And not just stopping there, but looking at the managers in our organization. We have great, bright, resilient individuals. What's most important, I think, for a lot in our community is nurturing them. Nurturing is aole hiki, from the no can to the hiki no, you can. And let me tell you how to get there. We don't do that for a lot of our own people. As Kawanoi shared, sometimes we throw rocks and we nuku a lot. And sometimes that nukuing is aloha nuku, but sometimes the nuku is in a hateful nuku. And we've gone through that over 121 years. My own belief as a lahui, we need to heal. And as we heal, we need to be comfortable at the table of teaching skill sets, haiolelo or oratory, sticking to traditional critical thinking to develop good leaders. I do have a plan, you know, not really looking to retire where I currently am, but to prepare those that are in leadership positions within OHA as well as out. I've come across a number of brilliant leaders, as well as what's ahead of us in terms of nationhood is very important. Just like Mauna Kea, sovereignty, federal recognition, they're not comfortable topics. But you know what? We have to deal with what's right in front of us. What's right in front of us, we're losing our rights. We're losing land. Water is scarce. You know, these are not issues just for throw back and forth on social media and call each other out. This is when you gotta hui makapakakao and ha'eolelo olelo me ke kai. You have to be at the table, and not just amongst each other, but with people who have diverse views, so you understand where they come from, and be willing to express your view. That's very important. Our kupuna did that. You know, in the time of Kauai Keaole coming up with a new constitution, to Kuhio go to federal government, to others going internationally. That's where we have to be at, you know. And I've been fortunate to be in contact with many of those in the community. So as OHA, what we do to educate on Mauna Kea and sovereignty, just go to livestreamoha.org, okay? We get it every day from our community, and we got a whole lawyer, but with a humble heart. And I think that's what's been missing a lot in our community is lack of respect and how we share humbly to each other, rather than just kind of, you know, real inaina kind of sharing. Let's be more aloha to each other and mean it. So that is my plan, is to nurture those in leadership right now. Hopefully they will pick up the skills and mostly the no'eau, the mindset of hopefully what we embrace as our kupuna did, and that they can pass it on to the hanau. Mahalo.
Mahalo for that. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just share. briefly. So as Kathy pointed out, in my position, I have very little to do with who will succeed me, right? It's a process that nobody knows exactly when or how it will unfold. But here's what I think I can do. What I can do is my best to ensure that we are identifying promising Hawaiian leaders at every level of the organization. We have, last year I restarted our Emerging Leaders Program, which is a system-wide program for leaders identified from throughout the UH system to try to give them opportunities to begin to understand what leadership in higher education and at UH looks like, and do our best to promote Hawaiians who are qualified for positions and support them in their success. Actually, right now we have 3 Hawaiian chancellors of our 10 campuses, which is, pretty darn good. And I would love there to be a great pool that includes at least one strong Native Hawaiian when my time is up, for whoever the board or the selection committee is. I'm just going to throw out one interesting question that, because leadership is actually the first thing in Hawaii Papaokeao, our strategic plan for being a Hawaiian serving institution. And sometimes when I'm traveling around to the campuses, I get asked, can we set up a leadership program for Native Hawaiians? So unlike OHA or Kamehameha, we're not only a Hawaiian institution, we're Hawaii's university. And I have really pushed back on that a little bit because I want a leadership program that includes Hawaiians with everyone else at UH who cares about advancing the University of Hawaii for the people of Hawaii. But as much as wanting to include Hawaiians in a general leadership program, I also want our other aspiring and emerging leaders to be sharing their leadership development with our best and brightest Native Hawaiians.
Mahalo. I know we're getting short on time. There are another question dealing with access to Mauna Kea, but maybe those of you who have those questions can find those that can answer that maybe individually after we finish. And a couple having to do, one for UH about second year Olelo Hawaii class. Maybe you can ask him afterwards. OHA, as Hawaiian, Olelo Hawaii being one of the 2 official languages, how can you move Olelo Hawaii into more mainstream via signage, media, so forth? I think that's been addressed a little bit. And assuring those positions. One thing we've learned today was to infiltrate. And so as Kanaka, it's important that we do our part, which is prepare ourselves and literally infiltrate these organizations and systems to be able to make that change from the inside. And so I encourage all of you to look, like you said, look for those Hawaiians that are up and coming, that have prepared themselves and shown those attributes of good leadership. I also just would like to throw out a challenge to myself and to everyone. And in particular, this kind of came to me this morning, or the other morning, with my friend Jack. And we don't know each other very well. I met him last year. We shook hands, and we shook hands again this year. And I mahalo him, and I appreciate his addressing us in Hawaiian at the beginning of his talk. But I want to issue a challenge. You have 1 year, as do all of us, every single one of us here. You have 1 year to prepare yourself to give an unscripted, from your heart, welcome and a short paragraph, Maka'olelo Hawaii, of what you want to express without reading it. I know you have a lot of qualified teachers to help you here on your campus. If not, I'll be willing to come from Laie and sit with you and help you also. And that goes for all of us. We have a year. What can we do in a year? How much can we learn? And every step is a proper step, but as I mentioned earlier, when the po'o turns, the body will turn. Be an example of leadership in your organization by showing the value that you put into these that we've discussed today. Like Kawanoi said, e ola ka olelo Hawaii. Okay, so live, the Hawaiian language needs to live, and each of us, as we move forward, are going to take that one step at a time. If we've improved from last year to this year and this year till next year, then that's what we're looking for. And that includes all of us here. There's online classes, there's classes in your community. If not, call up Kamehameha Schools and say, I need a class in Olelo Hawaii in my community. Please send one of your teachers out here. Okay, so that having been said, I think we'll wrap up our panel today. We appreciate, let's give them another round of applause to all of our leaders. And appreciate them fielding those various questions and being honest in your replies, and appreciate you being here with us. And mahalo to everyone. I'm going to turn the time back to our MCs. Mahalo.
Ooh, that was a close one. I was watching Jack's hand on the side behind the chair. You guys weren't seeing, but he was giving me the signal. I was supposed to take out Kamoa'e. David wasn't lying. When Jack speaks, we listen. But when Aaron has the mic, you listen. Get off the stage. I'm just kidding. We invite you to release yourself from being stared at. Yeah, mahalo, mahalo.